If Asana feels overwhelming or underutilized, this video is for you. My name is Kaitlyn, and I work with teams at all stages of their Asana journey to help turn Asana into something that makes work simpler. Let me walk you through a few of my favorite ways to do that. So here we are together in my test environment in Asana. And I always start with my tasks because this is where adoption lives or dies in Asana. Everyone on a team works super differently. And so I love setting up my tasks so it works for the individual and not just a generic dumping ground. So here are some different views that I like to set up for individuals. Across the top here, when you get started, it doesn't look like this. So just know that there's this add tab button here, and you can choose the type of view that you want to add. You are not limited to only one of each of the different types. So for example, I like to have a weekly calendar and a monthly calendar. You can also rename these, which is super handy. So whatever floats your boat, use emojis if you want to, like you can really change this up. So however you want this to look, that's up to you. Again, this is a very personal process. So I like to do a weekly view and a monthly view. In mine, I like to use the filter for incomplete, which means I don't see all the completed stuff. I just see the stuff that is yet to come. In the monthly view, mine is also set to incomplete, but perhaps it makes sense for you to see both, and you can update that here. My other view that I really like is a list view that I have sorted by due dates. So this shows me everything grouped together by due date instead of these random sections that come through that are created by Asana. So instead, I use the following filters. Under the filter button, I select incomplete, and then here I do this drop down as completion status incomplete tasks. Under sorts, I sort by due date ascending, and under groups, I do due date ascending. Once you've done that, you'll see everything will start to go together here by due date. The other thing to look at is the columns across the top. Just like a good Excel sheet, you don't want more columns than you need. So take a look at what's helpful for you. My tidbit that I really like to add is blocked by and blocking. So if your group uses dependencies, and if they're not, they should be, this will show what is blocking your task or what maybe you're blocking for your coworkers. And so it just really helps for me to see, maybe that should be my priority. If I'm blocking someone else's task, maybe I should start there. The other project view that I like is in my tasks is also a list view. I call it my tasks by project. And this is just my tasks for the next couple of days by project. So if you like to bulk your work together and do all of your work for one individual project at a time, this is a great way to do that. So the filters for this are incomplete tasks. And then I either do this week or do the next couple of days. It depends on how busy your My Tasks view looks. And then under sorts, we sort by due date ascending, and then we group by project ascending. And so this is the actual project that the task belongs to. And so I can do everything that's related to one project altogether. The reason I don't do everything just due today in this view is that sometimes something that's due tomorrow or the day after is related, and maybe I can work a little bit ahead. So for me, that's why I like to do it that way. So that's the My Tasks view. I always recommend starting here and really customizing this view to work for you and how your brain works individually. All right, my next recommendation for reducing chaos is Outlook and Slack integration with Asana. So one of my biggest goals with Asana is to dramatically reduce how much work is living in email, Slack, DMs, text, and worst of all, someone's head. So I help teams to connect tools like Outlook and Slack so tasks can be pulled directly into Asana where they're supposed to live. So for example, with Outlook, you would just go to asana.com/apps/Outlook, and then you can install this tool. Why I like this tool if you use Outlook is that you can open any email, and then on the side, you can add it as a task into Asana. You can tell it which project to go into. You can add the actual email as a comment. So you have all of that context in Asana all in one place, which is wonderful. So this makes it really simple. Gmail also has the same tool. So if you use Gmail instead, highly recommend this for that. Now for Slack, similar thing, asana.com/apps/Slack to install. This one I like because I can take a DM or a message in a channel and I can turn it into an actionable task or a task comment for myself or others inside of Asana. So if you have that coworker that's constantly sending you messages like, did you buy that birthday card for our coworker, or something that you have to do that maybe they don't think is going to be an actual task, this is a great way to take control of that. I do like to preface with the Slack component that you'll want to install that and then go back into your Slack and come over here to your settings and go under notifications. Once you're here, go to Slack notifications and you're going to want to update this. So I really don't need to be notified in Slack about Asana stuff. Like I'm getting that in Asana. So I don't want to get notified twice. I just want the option to take a Slack DM and turn it into an Asana task. So for me, I like to typically uncheck all of these. I'm not using it in this space. This is just an example, but so I would uncheck everything for updates on your work. Occasionally I'll leave on the someone mentions my name, then at least I'm getting that notification in a couple spots. That typically means it's important, but otherwise I would turn everything else off. Otherwise the Slack notifications get to be a lot. So in Slack, you'll be getting constant Asana notifications. However, with proper setup, I think you will really enjoy this tool, especially if you're getting a lot of work assigned to you in Slack. It's a great way just to bring everything into that one cohesive source of truth. Okay, so my next Asana tip is project templates. I like to say build it once, build it beautifully, and then let's templatize it. So if you do something more than once, we should templatize it. So let's say you have an annual meeting, or you're constantly doing these little events, or you have specific projects that you are seeing happen on a monthly, quarterly, or annual basis. This is a great time to create a template. So you would build your project just like normal, and then from the dropdown, you can hit Save as Template. Then inside here, you save your template name, pick which team it's going to live on, and then who can edit the template. Now, here is where it gets interesting. So you can actually add individual descriptions to each of the tasks. You can choose who it's assigned to. And the due dates are fascinating here. So you have two options. You can do due dates based on when the project was started, or you can do due dates based on when the project is due. 9 times out of 10, I like to do them for when a project is due. And so this is the screen that looks like. So you would say before a project due date. So let's say that you have an annual meeting and it's on October 15th of each year. That would be your due date. Then in your individual tasks for the due date, you're just calculating backwards the number of days it would take before you would do that. So if you have your annual meeting on the 15th, registration opens 1 year prior, then it would be 365 days before the due date. This individual task is due. Why that matters. When you go to use a template, you tell the template what the due date is, and then it auto calculates all of the due dates for all of the tasks. So think about your biggest project that's on repeat and how much time it takes when you duplicate the project, have to go through and manually change every single due date, update the task descriptions, delete the old attachments, clean out the old comments, all of that. None of that happens in a template, so that only brings over the good stuff. It brings over who it's assigned to, the due date, and then any task description that you want. For more advanced users, if you have rules or anything like that on your projects, you can actually set that here. You can also tell it what portfolio to auto join. So if you are more advanced and interested in those settings, that's all doable in the template. So build it once, meaning when you are building that project out in Asana to use it, build it perfectly. Make it so the task descriptions are thorough, make it so all the assignees are correct, the due dates are correct, and then at the end, save as template. Do a quick light touch, go through it, and then you have all of the sections, all of the dependencies, everything you've created is then just ready to go for the next time that you use it. And you'll be thanking me because it's a huge time saver. All right, so in the last tip, when we talked about templates, I mentioned task descriptions, but I really think we can hit on this with good level of detail. So task descriptions, in my opinion, is one of the most overlooked parts of Asana and one of the most powerful. I use task descriptions to give people everything they need to do their work well. So for example, this is a podcast episode. Here we have all of the information inside the individual description, and people just add, as they do their subtasks, they're adding the information here for all of their coworkers to have whatever they need to move forward. So knowing where to save the file, knowing where to get the edited recording, all of those things are just located here. It makes it so everything moves faster. So when the VA in this case is looking for the show notes link to add it to the YouTube, everything is all in one spot. The other thing too is I also do this inside of subtasks. So updating notes. I also use it for things that have gone well and have not gone well. What mistakes have been made in the past that we don't want to repeat? And so then we make note of those in a way that's like an SOP. So reminder that if someone swears in the podcast, we need to flag that for the podcast editor. Whatever that might be, we want to make sure to include that in these descriptions. So we have all these different notes. Each of these has all of the different, editing notes and all of that here, making it as smooth and simple as possible for each individual to do their specific part. What's great is that when they log into their My Tasks view, they aren't seeing this part, they're just seeing their step, and they can see how it's tied to the main task, but they have everything they need all in one spot. They're just a click away from all the information that they need. So this is one of the ways that I help teams to really honor their SOPs by embedding them directly into their work instead of letting them just live forgotten in a folder somewhere. At the end of the day, Asana should make work feel clearer, not heavier. Most teams don't need more tools or more process. They need fewer places where work is hiding, clearer ownership, and systems that actually support how people think and work day to day. Whether you are starting from scratch, cleaning up a messy system, or trying to get your team to actually use what's already there, I meet you where you are. I help build Asana in a way that reflects real work, real people, and real constraints. I don't believe in perfect systems. I believe in usable ones. If this feels like the kind of support that you've been looking for, I'd love to connect and talk about what this could look like for you and your team.